So welcome everybody to the first ever Enliven interview, which is very exciting.
Woo!
And I would like to introduce you all to Soyela Shafer, who is from Soyful Adventures, and her new page, I Am Soyela. So would you like to tell us a bit about yourself, introduce yourself to the Enliven Outdoor Adventures crew?
Hello, Enliven. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it so much. Right, I live in Australia now, not permanently, but currently residing, and I'm from California. And yeah, I love your country. I think it's amazing, and I'm super excited to explore more about this place. But about me, I am all over the place, and I love it. I've had a pretty extreme lifestyle and a lot of random events that's happened that has led me here. And I couldn't be happier to have landed in WA for or Australia even for the whole COVID thing. So
Sure. Well, I suppose for the purpose of this interview being that we are about women getting inspired to have outdoor adventures, facing fears in the outdoors and growing personally through the outdoors. Could you tell us a bit about how you first got into outdoor adventures? I know that obviously that's more of not how you got into it, but how you came back to it, because of course humans are innately beings drawn to nature. We've kind of
that's right.
Gone away from that, but how have you found yourself being into the outdoors?
Okay, well, I guess for me, I hear so many stories about, especially online and out in the world today. And what I'm about to say is not going to put down anybody who does what they do. I'm just going to explain my story and what I see and why it's been really hard for me to resonate with a lot of people online these days. Because for me, I come from a background of trauma. I come from a background of growing up in an environment where I didn't realize I had a choice. And I was deeply my soul was deeply engraved from being programmed into being afraid of everything. And there was no fault to my family or anything for thinking this way as well. But there is this generational thing that happens when you grow up poor, in trauma, and when everything is taken away from you. And for me, it's very hard for me to resonate with a lot of people online, because I always hear, and again, it's not a bad thing, but for people like myself, it's hard for us to resonate with people who are motivating people in the outdoors, because it's always, you hear, I quit my 9-to-5 and I was working for corporate and I traveled the world and I did these things, but it doesn't resonate with me because I didn't have any of that. And I find that, a lot of people like myself find it hard to actually expand and grow and think that they have the possibility and the opportunities that I've had, being able to travel and find adventure and things. And so with that being said, hopefully this isn't too blunt, but it's my story. Growing up with my mom, amazing mom, but we lost my little brother from dad, our stepdad, taking him away. And because of that, our entire family split up. So we went from this like amazing family growing up in the ghetto. So I grew up in the hood. I know you can't tell at all, but I was a very intense ghetto girl. I had this slicked back hair. I wore red. My family members are gang members. So they're norteños. My family is Mexican, and they're Mexican gang members. So it's kind of like Crips and Bloods. But they're Mexican, so it's norteños or sureños. And we grew up in the ghetto, and we were poor and didn't really have much. And so my mom, we lost everything, drugs, trauma, all the stuff that come along with that life. And for some reason, if I had nothing, that was my mindset. For some reason, it hit me. I thought, if I have nothing, then I could gain everything by just trying something different and going for something new. And when I was 14 years old, I overdosed off pain pills and medication. I was very not okay. And then, so from there, I had a moment where I was dying. And from that moment, when I saw myself on the bed and I was having an out of body experience, and I'd never prayed to anything ever in my life. I didn't think anything existed because I was so miserable. I wasn't around nature. I wasn't around a lot of things that showed me that I could have this extravagantly adventurous life, you know? And when I was laying there dying, the one thing that I knew to be true that staying deep into my soul, and that it still sits with me to this day, was a promise that I made to myself. And that promise was, I promise if you let me live, I will never give up. And I came out of it. And that next day I left and I went and met my dad for the first time. So there was this effect after, and it just changed everything. And although I didn't get into adventure right away, I was now adventuring outside of what I knew. I was considered a broken person, that I would never make it, and that I will be a part of the shitty system for the rest of my life. But because of that promise that I made so deep, because it stung so hard into me, I went and I searched. And because I had nothing, and because I didn't have superficial things holding me back in my life, I was like, nothing was holding me back. Although, when you lose your family, when you lose everything, you don't care about all the other shit, because all you want is your family back. And so I needed to go soul search. And because my family was so hurt and still fighting their own battles, I knew the only person that could fight theirs was mine. And so that is my story. And it's definitely super intense, I know. But because of that, I had a system, I had people, everything not believing in me, telling me I can't be this, I can't do that, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, well, what about me? And so I left. And when I left at 14, I met my dad for the first time. That was shit. And it just grew.
Wow.
So I was hitchhiking. I was going around the States. I was living out of a backpack. And so that's how my journey started. And although it wasn't in the mountains, and although it wasn't, traveling the world, I was journeying inside, trying to figure out how to survive. And so that I just started going and traveling in that way. And so my fears and things started to melt away, because I didn't, the system, the government wouldn't allow me to be my own human being. So I had to figure out how to survive. So there was loads of fear there, but I didn't have time to live in that fear, because I had to figure out how to survive. But many things, but one of those things that I discovered was when I started to notice randomly, why am I afraid? I started looking at my fears. I'm terrified of the ocean. I couldn't go in past my knees. I'm terrified of heights. I won't go near the cliff edge, and I won't hike certain areas because I'm so deathly afraid. There was all these irrational fears, right? And I remember I had lived in Hawaii, and I'll give you a quick little thing. For me, I never had money. Money never meant anything to me. So when I moved to Hawaii, I had $100 to my name, and I didn't know anything about Hawaii. I knew no one there, and I just left and went. And the woman on the plane thought I was so insane that she said, I will drive you wherever you want to. Just let me know where you want to get off. And she just drove me, and I saw a bunch of people partying under a bridge. And so I went, and I said, drop me off here, because I knew that I'd meet some amazing people. And I did. So that's where it started to happen. I was 20 years old. And I was so scared of the ocean. I was scared of everything. I was super insecure, all these things. So I grew my armpit hair out because I was insecure, and I just wanted to challenge myself to, what society told me was ugly. So I felt like, well, if I put that challenge on it, I'll feel beautiful overcoming it. Yeah. And I remember I was sitting with my friend John, and he is an open sea kayak guide, and he was taking me down the Nepali coast, right? I'm in his truck, and I'm sitting there, and I'm on my phone. Back in the day, I'm 33 now, this is 20, and I'm probably on an old crappy phone. And I got this programming that hit me, right? All the guys were in the back of the truck loading up the kayaks, and I was sitting in the car while they loaded up the kayaks. Yeah. And I stopped, and I put my phone down, and I was like, nah, you get out there, even though you don't want to, and you go help those men load the kayaks up. It was like this constant breaking down of programming, because I realized everything my mom and family taught me, the man does everything. It was just this natural programming that was in me. And so I made a vow that I would break that programming down. And so when I knew that I was programmed, all of these things would come in. So I started getting out of the car, would load the kayak up. If a guy wanted to help me lift it, I'm like, no, I got this. Thank you though. And I'd lift it, and then that's when I had my first really crazy experience. That person took me to the other side to live on the other side of the island out in the jungle of Hawaii.
Wow.
So I kayaked to the other side and lived in the jungle for a little over a month, and just got to see what it was like to be alone in the jungle and running around naked and playing in waterfalls and things like that. So that's where it started. And it started with the breaking of programming. Yeah. And then because of that one moment, I started saying, why are you afraid of the ocean? And so I became a surfer. And it took me 3 years, but I went out every single day and I surfed and I surfed and I surfed until I could paddle out alone, but it's crazy is people think the fear goes away, but it doesn't. It's a rational fear. You know what you're doing now, and that Jaws isn't going to come up and just, murder you. You realize that you're in the ocean with nature and you're making that choice. Yeah. And so you just hope it's not you to go that time.
And that's so inspiring, because I think that while some people might be able to relate to your story and your background with trauma, and thank you so much for sharing all that. That's, a lot of deep stuff. So I really appreciate you opening up about that. But maybe not everyone can relate to that much of an intense experience, and like doing the huge 180 to being like full adventure, from like ghetto life and living in the deathbed to like living and running around naked in the jungle in Hawaii. Not everybody has to have that full transition from one extreme to the other, but even just hearing that, you've had these irrational fears and you've been able to overcome them again and again, or I think that a lot of people can relate to that, to having that irrational fear or that programming, having to reprogram, think, oh no, just because my mum or my sister don't go out and do X, Y, or Z doesn't mean that I can't. That reprogramming, that's huge.
That's right. Well, that's why I think it holds a lot of people back in traveling, because there's a lot of irrational fears and people don't question it. They just say to themselves, oh, I'm so afraid of this, but they don't ask why. And then once you ask why, you realize it was never actually your own fear. You see people who grow up with the ocean, they have no fear. They have a respect because they grew up alongside the ocean and they learned the good, the bad, anything that could happen. And that's so healthy to understand it that way. But a lot of us don't have that. So there's this fear towards adventure, going solo, especially being a woman traveling solo. It's like, whoa, I'm not as brave as you. But it's like, no, we're all brave. We just have to come heavily educated and prepared for that trip. You know what I mean? Like, we have to really be smart about the things that we do.
So on that, I'm sure you've had hundreds of adventures in between, but skip forward to
too many.
You being a female traveling solo with your bike across Australia. Can you tell us a bit about that adventure and what brought you to it and how you went about it?
It's quite interesting because although I was traveling and I started my own businesses, surf schools in Panama and like living in the jungle and blah, blah, I always had a boyfriend or some male figure in my life. Yeah. And I always saw the woman in the airport that was traveling by herself. And there was this deep yearning to be that woman, even in the relationships I was in. I knew that I wasn't supposed to be in the relationship, but I kept going to that because that's what I knew and that's what felt safe, so there was still some fear of just being completely alone. So when I came to Australia, I came completely alone. I wasn't drinking anymore. I was just like start over, reset, right? And so, living life in Australia, I was living in Sundays. I was just teaching yoga. I was like, woo, just enjoying just being completely alone. And I was just with myself, exploring myself, And I think this comes as you get older. Like I was, 31, 32, and I just have lived so much life and I've done so much, but there was this deep yearning to still try and find that deeper part of myself, and no geographical location was going to give that to me.
Yeah.
And so I just jumped on a bus and I was trying to search for it and I couldn't find it. And I remember I was in Lakes Entrance. And so it's close to the New South Wales border but we're in Victoria, right? And this is during the time that all the fires were going on, right? And I found this random ass job at a bar in the middle of nowhere. I just needed to get away from everything, just be nowhere, And then I remember I was laying in bed and I had this beautiful big window, and I sat up and I saw the sunrise, the sunset. I could see the whole thing. It was just beautiful. I just watched it all the time. It was gorgeous. And anyone would be stoked for it, but I was not happy. Wow. And I was laying there and I said these exact words. I said, universe, whatever you present to me today, I'll take it. I'm listening. I'm ready. And I know that because I say it to this day because of what happened. So when I said that, I got this idea, bing. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to ride my roommate's bicycle to this old trestle bridge. And I borrowed the bike, and everyone was saying to me, they're like, why are you going to ride to the trestle bridge? That's going to take you a few hours. It's only 20 minutes. You're going to be riding on the highway. And if you're not going to ride on the highway, you're going to have to go through the fire or the bush, and you're going to be all alone. And dude, they're like getting panicky for me. And I remember all this fear coming in me. I'm all like, it's okay. Chill out. I'm going to ride. So it took me 3 hours to get to this bridge.
Yeah.
And I had to ride on the highway. And when I was riding on the highway, I was recording to my twin sister, hey, just, preparing for a bike trip across some country somewhere. And I sent her the video, which is trippy. And I'm riding my bike through the forest now. And now I'm on the rail trail, and I'm about 10 minutes away from the trestle bridge. And all of a sudden, the one human in 3 hours pulls up beside me. And I was like, oh shit, hello, who are you, man? And he's like, my name's Trevor. And we start talking and stuff. And he's in his probably mid 60s, and he's super fit. And he said, would you like to get a coffee with me in the town of Now, which is a town of 100 people, one cafe, one gas station, or petrol station, excuse me. Yeah. And so I said, okay, I'll meet you. And so I take my photos of the bridge and I go and meet him at the cafe. But before he gets there, I eat. And I have all this doubt in my mind. I say, oh, I don't feel like talking to anybody. Oh, like I just want to be alone, all these things. But I overcame that feeling of not wanting to talk to anybody to talk with him. Mm-hmm. And so he came and met me at the cafe. And he's telling me how he rode his bike all around Australia, and he has all these touring bikes. And he lives seriously 1 minute away from the cafe. And he says, would you like to see all my touring bikes? I was like, hell yeah, I want to see your touring bikes. And so he takes me to his shed. And he has seriously like 15 to 20 touring bikes. And they're all set up for different kind of bike tours. A week tour, living for a year, all these things. And I'm standing there like, whoa, this is sick. And then he points to my bike and he says, do you see that bike? I'm like, yeah, it's yours. Take it. And it was set up for touring. It had all the panniers, it had the tent, it had all the water, it had everything. I didn't have to pay for anything. It was all there. And when he said to me, it's yours, take it, I was like, this is what I said. I remembered back to that morning when I said, universe, whatever you present to me today, I'll take it. I'm listening. I'm ready. And I looked at him and said, I'm riding to Perth. And then I had one day of training. I went one day and I rode 70 kilometers one way and back. So I rode 140 kilometers just to see if I could do it. And then I got evacuated from the fires.
Oh my God.
I didn't even know how to change a bike tire. Didn't know how to change a bike tire at all. I knew nothing about bikes. And I got evacuated and started bike touring.
Wow.
And rode across Australia.
That is amazing.
Long story, but there you go.
I mean, the evacuation part, I'm glad you got out of that, but the that whole situation of you just being like, yeah, universe, whatever, I'll take it. What a wild little set of circumstances.
Yeah, but that's the thing too. The thing about that, people, it sounds hippy dippity, but the thing is, whatever we say, it's scientifically proven. Whatever we say to ourselves is very toxic. So why not say what you want in the universe? We always talk about the negative shit, right? And we always have negative stuff in our life. So why not flip it just to see? That same thing I said about when I was younger. If I had nothing to lose, what would I have to lose? Like, I could gain everything by just changing the perspective.
Absolutely.
Just try it.
Yeah.
And it works. It does. Straight up.
Yeah. Even if you want to go for a wind stand up paddleboard and you're like, but it's cold, I might fall off, or I might look silly. What could go right?
The best part,
dolphins, you might even see whales. There were whales at Tennyson last week. Like, you can have this epic life-changing experience.
Those are the best moments.
But yes, you're very right.
They're the best moments, because they're the most challenging.
Yeah.
They're the most challenging because your mind does tell you, oh, I don't want to, but it's like, oh, but I do want to. Yeah. And then you're right. You see the whale, you see the dolphin. It's it's glassy and gorgeous. Oh, it's my most favorite time is winter sometimes. Yeah.
Tell me about your favorite times on the cycle tour. What's one of your, or two of your, or what's springing to mind? What's an epic memory from your cycle tour to Perth?
Oh, I got so emotional just thinking about it. Oh, my most epic time, right? Because I'd never done a journey that you have to, when I do a journey, you get there and everything's such a fast result, right? Mm-hmm. You take flight, you get to Asia, you take a flight, you get here, you get there. Everything's kind of simple. It is hard still. I'm not disregarding the difficulty about travel. But when you take it down a notch and you actually have to do it yourself, where you have to take yourself from point A to B, and it is exhausting. It is hard. You wake up every day. My most favorite part was when I was dreaming about the Nullarbor.
Yeah.
I was dreaming about the Nullarbor Plains. So when I travel, I don't look up photos of places. Yeah. I just know, and I want to go here, I go there, and I don't explore it. And so when I was on my cycle trip, I didn't explore where I was going through the internet. I just went. Yeah. But with the Nullarbor, because everybody said how terrifying it is and that you'll die and all these things, which is insane. The thought processes of people, they're just feeding you their fears. And anyways, my most favorite part was how much I dreamt of the treeless plain. Mm. I kept dreaming of, I kept thinking about, I always wondered what it'd be like. And when I made it to that sign, you have now made it to the treeless plain, it was like, oh my God, I don't know how to explain it. There's nothing that can give you the feeling that I have other than the fact that I paddled myself to stand in front of that sign, and I made it. And it took me 3 months to get there, and always dreamt of it. The one place, just making it there was the biggest accomplishment I could ever receive. It was like, it was amazing. It was so cool. I knew that that day, I knew how powerful I was. Let's just put it that way. I made it. I believed in myself when I saw that sign. I was like, holy shit, you did it. Excuse my language, by the way.
That's amazing.
But you know what? I think the rest of the trip, my most two other favorite parts besides making it to the Nullarbor was when I went on the journey, and I told you that every beach looked the same, every interaction was the same. I had lost hope in humanity. Mm-hmm. I lost hope. I was exhausted. I had been used and abused and all these things. I was just tired. And the kindness of the people that you meet on the road, even the ones who feed you their fear, they say, oh, there's nothing on the Nullarbor, or, oh, you're going to die, or all these things. One, the people who say all those negative things, used to get annoyed, but I realized that they only cared. And that started to restore my hope back into humanity, because they were only caring from the level that they could give to me from their perspective. So that showed me that if they had enough energy to tell me that I was going to die, that meant that they cared about me, because they wanted to tell me that because they were worried. So they were instilling hope back into my heart that people cared, that I had lost. And that the kindness of people, you know, when I'm riding my bike, someone gave me a whole fish, like a whole fish. People wanted to give me money. They kept giving me money. I was like, I don't need money. I'm not like homeless, guys. I'm riding my bike across Australia. Get a hotel room. This is a, you know.
I love this. I love that.
Cool.
This insight into deeper ways of thinking and being, just coming from your experiences outdoors. This is amazing, because it's not just
thanks.
And that's what Enliven's about as well. It's, you know, helping women to feel empowered, or to have a change of perspective, or to conquer a fear. And the outdoor stuff is just the medium for that. Like, getting outside is just the medium to give you that space to breathe and be seen and be heard. And I love that. So can you tell us about what's next and what you're working on at the moment?
Oh, yeah. So it's funny, because I've just turned into this like real gnarly adventure chick now. Just never was coming. So when I was riding my bike across Australia, I before Coffin Bay, I was told about camels in Australia, and I was like, oh, I was already thinking about my next adventure, right?
Love that.
And so when I was on the Nullarbor, I was coming close to the end of the Nullarbor, and I made it to just before Norseman. There's Fraser Station, and then camels there.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and stopped there, and there were camels, and I fell in love. I was like, yeah, that's my next adventure. Okay. And so when I landed in Perth, so the day that I finished crossing the Nullarbor was the day that the world socially distanced.
Wow, timing, hey?
Like, when I came out, I had 15 days, no service. And it was after school holidays and all this COVID stuff happening. I had no idea what was going on. It was pretty dead on the Nullarbor when I was there. And so I had no idea. So when I came back to society, everyone was like this.
Whoa.
Who has it? Who has it? Who has it? And I was like, what is happening right now? It was creeping me out. And so I made it to Perth. That's when all borders shut down. And I was searching what to do. And I ended up getting on a student visa so I could stay. Yep. So as life went by, I had forgotten about my next journey. And then I thought, oh my God, I'm going to try and do this. And then I reached out to a guy, and for all of you, the journey is, I want to walk camels across Australia. And I reached out to a man at the Kalamunda Camel Farm, and I told him what I wanted to do. And he invited me to come volunteer at the farm and teach me some things. And I was working there for 5 months, and he said, prove to me that you can be a cameleer, and I will give you 2 camels. And I know that, and so he gave me 2 camels. I proved myself. I had no idea anything, and I've never worked with animals at all. And I just, no joke. The first day he said, go take PJ for a walk. The boy that I have now, my baby boy, I love him so much. I love him. He's take him for a walk. PJ, by the way, when I first had him, PJ and Trent, they do not know anything about walking or sitting or anything. I had to teach them everything. So that meant camels kicking at me. That meant a camel charging at me. That meant like, oh my God, you were going to die.
We grew up.
That's how I felt.
Looking after alpacas, and they would like spit. Do camels spit?
Yeah. Oh, no. Camels throw up on you.
Yeah. Same as
even
alpacas.
worse.
Yeah.
Oh, is that alpaca? Yeah, no. So when I was cleaning, so So yeah, I have camels now. My trek is this journey to walk across Australia. And so I had to prove to the man at the camel farm that I could take the camels, and I proved it. And now I live with 2 camels, and I'm teaching them how to be camels, how to wear packs, how to sit, how to listen to me, how to walk with me, how to, when they panic, have to be the dominant one. And I mean, the bike trip, honestly, like having to freedom camp, having to trust myself, having to educate myself, all these things, the bike trip taught me to follow through and to be confident and trust in myself and to believe in my journey no matter what. The riding never felt like I wanted to stop. I was never tired. I felt like something finally matched my ADHD, and I was like, woo! It was awesome. But with the camels, first of all, showed me 2 different parts of myself. One of them is very trusting, but also very angry. And the other one is, is so much anxiety, but so much love, and just needs someone to understand them. Yeah. And so working with these 2 camels have shown me both parts of myself, but also a massive responsibility. And having to take care of something other than myself has shown me, it made me understand parents and anyone who has fur babies or babies, skin babies. It made me realize that, you know, sometimes with your life and you can't find your purpose when you have a baby, when you have your furry animals or whatever, you are giving your life more purpose by focusing more on them, because it's now about them, and it takes you away from yourself, which we can get so lost in sometimes. And you can find yourself through them. If you, with the camels, they have shown me those sides of myself I already knew existed, but no one was ever patient with me. So I actually got to be patient with them. And when I was patient with them, I watched PJ has anxiety, but he's calm. So instead, PJ used to do this. He used to do this when he was stressed out. And now when he's stressed out, he does this with his eyes.
Progress.
He just looks around. Do you know what I mean? So it's amazing. I'm training camels and I'm learning a lot about myself, and I'm learning a lot of responsibility. I'm learning how to show up and to follow through and it's hard. It's hard. I'm taking a lot of survival courses. I have to know what foods my camels can eat, because plants are poisonous and it can kill them, you know? So this is not easy. The bike trip, I just got on and can learn on the way. I can't just jump on my camel and ride off into the distance, because we can all die.
Wow.
And on this trek as well, what people don't realize is that I actually have to take a rifle with me, because the wild camels out there will kill my boys and myself. So it's really dangerous too. Yeah. So there's this fear around that.
So too. What's your planned route? Where are you intending to go, and for how long? And what's the logistics of that?
So my plan was to take the Canning Stock route. So I was going to go up north and do Canning Stock route, and then stay in more of the outbacky area, and then go around to Northern Territory, go back into Airlie Beach, and then cut back into the center to Uluru, because I've already been to Airlie Beach, down across Perth, and I want to do a full loop.
Yep.
But I've been speaking with a woman, Karen. She's amazing. She has a sanctuary in the Flinders Ranges called the Camel Sanctuary. It's amazing on Instagram. Her camels are like amazing. Holy hell. I want to train with her. But she was telling me that if I go that route, it's actually more dangerous than any other route, because there's way more camels, and that I will have to be shooting camels left and right. And I don't want to do that.
So you think you've reassessed?
So reassessing the trek. So that trek was going to be 2 years. So if I went every single day. So the thing about when you put treks together, the great thing about the bike trek, it taught me about kilometers. So when I was riding, I knew that in the hills, it was, or in the mountains hills, was 80 kilometers. But when it's flat or just semi hills, I could ride 120 kilometers in a day. And so that showed me how far I can go. But with walking, you can only do like 21 kilometers max.
Yeah.
So that the
Wow.
advice I can give to anyone that wants to do a walking track or a cycling track, you got to think about the kilometers. So if it's 3,000 kilometers and I can only walk 20 kilometers in a day without any interruptions, you got to calculate that, right?
Yeah.
So it would take 2 years. And that's when someone told me about tracks, about a robin who walked from Uluru to the Indian Ocean, Shark Bay area
Yep.
into Western Australia.
And so
And
you told me that story before, you had this idea, hey, you didn't know anything
yeah,
about
had no idea. Yeah. No idea. Someone told me after I told them. Yeah. So yeah, I wanted, when I watched her journey, she orienteered. So she used her map and a compass to figure out where to go.
Mhm.
And that's what I want to do. I want to test my survival skills and see if I can do it. My mom said to me, why do you have to do this? Like, why do you do things like this? And it's like, well, I guess it's just to, my biggest thing that I know I've learned from my life is, in order to find our purpose or anything in life, you have to experience who you are in this life. If you try and find your purpose without doing anything at all, without experiencing who you are, then how are you supposed to know what your purpose is? And I know that by doing a trek like this, I have to train so hard. So that gives me something to commit to, gives me something to follow through with. It puts a bit of danger involved with it. So I like to be under pressure. I like to see how my mind works. And I just want to see what happens. It has nothing to do with anyone else. I don't care. This isn't for anyone else. It's for myself. I want to see who I become from it after I know that I orienteered my way across Australia. Do you know what I mean?
Incredible, yeah.
There's something about that fear. I guess fear, one of my favorite lines is, fear doesn't define me. Fear is a friend, right? So we go to fear not to not do things, but to become fearless so we can fear less. And that's becoming rational in those things. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's why I'm doing it. And on top of that, it's for a mental health program I'm putting together. So
I love that.
I want to bring awareness to it.
Yeah. Amazing. So incredible. Well, I feel like we've covered so many things. You've shared so much about, everything from your outlook on life, your adventures, amazing experiences in Australia and your childhood. But it seems that obviously, despite everything that you've been through, you're clearly a very happy person, self-diagnosed or maybe actually diagnosed ADHD person with all these incredible stories and adventures under her belt. And you are clearly living the Enliven Outdoor Adventures sort of ethos. You pretty much embody what I sort of pictured the business to bring out in women. So I would love if you have any thoughts you'd like to share about what you do in your daily practices, weekly, just in life in general to feel enlivened.
Oh, there's so many. I think one of the main things for me, so my friend calls me Songbird because I'm always singing and dancing. I'm like a little bird just fluttering around. Seriously, just like a little bird, be like chirp, 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 all the time. I thought it was like the nicest compliment ever. But I do a lot of things. But honestly, my number one thing, I love dancing. It and it's not just to, oh God, it's so I do follow a routine and I make sure, so as my day goes, if I had to go to work or if I do anything that involved me teaching or doing anything, the number one thing that I know to be true is that I come first. You come first, everyone comes first. So I make sure what I do as a practice is wake up extremely way too early, like 4. That way, when I wake up, I meditate, I do breathing exercises, I journal and exercise. And throughout my day, I listen to music, right? And so I choose jobs that make me happy. So I work outside and do all these things, teaching, whatever. But dancing, dancing has been the most healing thing for me, just because I guess for me as a person, it takes a lot for us to be, we are afraid that someone's watching us. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, someone's watching me. And then we get too in our mind and then we shut off. But when it comes to that expression of the self, it started with me doing ecstatic dance. So ecstatic dancing is just being able to let yourself loose. So finding those group environments where you just let loose and stuff. Yeah. And you just feel the feels. But for me, I don't know. It's never bothered me if people watch me. I guess the life that I've lived is that there was worse things than what I look like when I dance. But if people allowed themselves to feel that expression, like when when you hear a song and you just feel it and you can sometimes picture what the dance move looks like. Do you ever get like that? Yeah. Or like that deep sensation where you feel it because it's on a frequency that is like our frequencies in our bodies. It's a real thing, like it's energy and it taps into that. And a lot of times we don't listen to it because we're too afraid. We get too much in our mind. But if you just close your eyes and just say, screw it, I'm going for it. You just do it.
I love
and that. On my bike trip, I danced the whole way. Sometimes I'd be on the side of the road and I'd be dancing in front of a sign and cars are honking. I danced so much on the side of the road that when I got to the Nullarbor, I was so excited. I started dancing and people were there. And then I twisted my ankle.
Oh no. So there is something is too much dance. Oh, yeah. That's amazing.
Especially after you've ridden for 2 months and you haven't stretched and you're like no room in your body. But yeah, it's those things. Honestly, I would say the number one thing that I do in my life is having a routine and sticking to that, because willpower is superpower. When you have willpower, you can allow all the other things about your chemical imbalances, your traumas, everything to also be that superpower, but you need that routine. And I think you'd know that.
Yeah, but I definitely don't have the 4 a.m. routine, but I'm feeling pretty inspired now to get all those things ticked off every morning.
It's not, honestly, especially getting back into it. If you can't get up, you just make the routine by just hitting the meditation sound on. You just lay there and you just listen to it. And you know what? The biggest advice I can give, may I give this?
Please.
Is that okay?
Absolutely. Thanks.
I think what happens, right, is that when we want to build good habits, everyone wants to quit everything cold turkey. They're like, I'm gonna stop this, I'm gonna stop this, I'm gonna stop this, I'm gonna stop this, and then I'm gonna add all these new things in, right? And it doesn't need to be that complicated. The thing I learned the most was keep all the bad shit. Keep everything that's in your life right now. And all you need to do is focus on putting one good thing in. And when you normalize that one good thing, that becomes normal. So you know what I did? Started flossing.
Yeah.
I wanted, really, it's that simple. I
have heard people say that before, like habit stacking, like I'm already brushing my teeth and I just floss after. I've added one new thing into my routine.
One new thing. And everyone thinks you got to take all this other stuff out, but that's overwhelming yourself. You put too much on your plate and then you exhaust yourself and you burn out. And it's a perfect example of what we do in life. You can burn out on trying to be healthy and create good habits, right? So one thing, and when that one thing's normalized, you don't have to think about anything else. All of a sudden, because that feels good, naturally one other good thing will come in, and then you add that in. And then you start doing it. And then the more that you do that and allow the good things to arrive because you are focusing your attention on one thing rather than all things, then everything starts to say, no, I don't want to drink. And no, I don't want a cigarette. And no, I don't want to stay up till 3 a.m. and doing this and eat shitty McDonald's or something. You just naturally start to say no. And that's what starts to happen in your life when you adventure.
Absolutely.
You know, like you said, oh, it's raining. And you're like, you know what? I'm going.
Yeah.
It smells nice when it's raining, and the water will probably be glassy and whatever. It just happens naturally, you know?
Yeah, so
So
true. So watch out, everybody. 1 minute you're going to be flossing your teeth. The next minute you're going to be running naked through the jungle in Hawaii.
woo! That's right. That's right.
Oh, that's amazing.
That is right. You want that life.
Yeah. Go out, get it. 1 minute at a time. A little 5-minute walk outside. 5 minutes to get the sunshine, breathing. It'll all add up.
That's it. That's it. That's all we need. That's it.
I love that. Well,
It's so simple.
I feel like I have taken a lot of your time this evening, but I'm so grateful for everything that you've shared. And I really do hope that everyone who's been watching this is keen to, keep following your adventures. I know that you're on Soyela Adventures. It'll be on that page. And you can also check out all of Soyela's amazing mindset and mental health hacks on her I Am Soyela page, where she's doing sharing a lot of cool things over there as well. But thank you so much for your time. And also, while everyone's still on here, I just want to acknowledge that we are meeting on Aboriginal land today, and I'm so grateful that we get to share our stories and have these adventures outdoors on land that was stolen, and we acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded, and we want to pay our respect to elders past, present and emerging, and just show our intense gratitude for this amazing place that we get to adventure on, and we'll give back as we can and however we can. But Soyela, thank you for all of your amazing insights and for sharing about some pretty deep stuff in your life. So I really appreciate your time.
Thanks for listening to my long ass answers.
Amazing. I've just been sitting here like wedged around the campfire. I totally forgot about the room here. I've just been like, whoa. So good. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you so much for, it means a lot.
Oh, it means a lot to me to share your time. So yeah, we'll be in touch.
Sounds groovy, sister. I love you, and I love all of you guys. I hope to speak to you soon. And just real quick, I'm so down that no one needs to be nervous to reach out to me, because I answer everyone. Unless all of a sudden one day I hit 1 million followers and I'm like, holy shit,
coming.
Ah!
Thank
Love
you.